To Mil Palabras lesson 18. These are the contents of the lesson, and it says here, uh, uh, this is the past continuous tense, okay? And it says, you cannot imagine how many people in the world are frustrated only because they never learn to use this tense of the verbs in English, okay? The past continuous tense is easy to learn, but only if you learn it well. In this lesson, you'll see that there are no difficulties to use this tense of the verbs. Okay? These are the contents of the lesson, como siempre, vocabulario, and let's have a look. So the vocabulary, as usual, you're going to learn it very, very thoroughly, extremely thoroughly. Very important to learn all these words. A mixture of verbs and nouns and adjectives. Okay, and we're going to go directly to the first lesson. Okay, the past continuous. How to say that something was happening. So in lesson 7, you learnt the present continuous. The present continuous in lesson 7. That's to say, how to say something was happening, or is happening in the moment that we're speaking. For example, I am working. Now, because I am working. En este momento, I am working. Yo estoy trabajando. Huh? So now, you're going to learn the past continuous. How to say that something was happening. For example, I was working. I was working. Okay, we'll look into that now. Let's look at the rules of how to make it. The past continuous is the same as the present continuous. We form the verb as with the verb to be, the verb of the sentence, and with the ending ing. The difference is that now we're going to use the verb to be in the past instead of the present. That's very easy. Okay? So the following rules, and you know some of these because we looked at them in lesson 7. Okay, so they're only here to remind you. Okay, to add ing to the verbs, you need to use the following simple rules. If the verb ends with e, we take away the e and add ing. So take, taking. Okay. There are some verbs in which the final consonant is doubled, like run and running. Run and running. Okay. And all the verbs end with ing at the end. Okay. They must. This is the continuous tense. Ing. Okay. Now, here we go. Now this is the pasado of the verb to be, was and were, okay? So I was talking. Yo estaba hablando. You were talking. Okay, so were for you, and for we, and for they. And todos all the others. I was, he was, she was, it was. Okay. Now I'm going to take you to go to meeting. I'm sorry, I have to find it. Here we are, the past continuous tense with the English club. Let's have a look what they say. So I was singing. Here's the example. I was singing. Okay, I was singing. Now it says the past continuous tense is an important tense in English. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find something in my computer. Seem to be having a problem with that. Okay, it's an important tense in English. We use it, this is mass important, this is very important. We use it to say what we were in the middle of doing at a particular moment in the past, okay? What we were in the middle of doing. So I was singing, or I was talking. Okay. How do we, what I was talking, but we need more. We need more than that. I was singing. Uh, I was singing yesterday afternoon. Okay, I was singing in the I was singing this morning in the bath. Okay, so it's I was doing something. I was doing something while I was singing. Okay, I was singing in the shower. I was singing in the shower this morning. Okay, in the middle of doing something else. Okay, so let's look at the structure. How do we make the past continuous? Well, we've seen that in Mil Palabras. The structure of the past continuous tense is subject, auxiliary verb be, and main verb. So I was cooking. Hmm? You were talking. She was playing. Okay, etc. And for negative sentences in the past, well, we're going to look at those in a minute. It's the same. We insert not entre between the auxiliary verb and main verb. So I was not helping Mary. He was not helping Mary. We were not joking. Hmm? No, no estaba bromeando. We were not joking. Okay. Were you being silly? These are questions. We're going to look at those in a minute. Here we go. The spelling rules for adding ing to make the past continuous tense are the same as for the present continuous tense. So how do we use the past continuous tense? Well, here, this is important. The past continuous tense expresses action at a particular moment in the past. The action started before that moment, but has not finished at that moment. For example, yesterday I watched a film on TV. The film started at 7 and finished at 9. Okay? Entonces, it started at 7, finished at 9. At 8 o'clock, yesterday, I was watching TV. Okay? This is all in the past. Okay? Nothing to do with the present. Nothing to do with the future. All in the past. At 8 o'clock yesterday, I was watching TV. I was in the middle of watching TV because I started watching TV at 7 and I finish at 9. When we use the past continuous tense, our listener, the person we're talking to, usually knows or understands what time we are talking about. Okay, I was working at 10 o'clock last night. Okay, so last night we're using qualifying words to quantifying words to say I was working at 10 o'clock last night. They were not playing football at 9 o'clock this morning. What were you doing at 10 o'clock last night? What were you doing when he arrived? She was cooking when I telephoned her. Or we were having dinner when it started to rain. Okay. It says here some verbs cannot be used in continuous progressive tenses. Okay. We often use the past continuous tense to set the scene in stories. So when we're telling stories, here's a story. James Bond was driving through town. It was raining. The wind was blowing hard. Nobody was walking in the streets. Suddenly, Bond saw the killer in a telephone box. Okay? So it starts the action. It's in the past. We're talking about a story in the past. Okay? It starts the action. This is what was happening. He was driving. It was raining. The wind was blowing. Nobody was walking in the streets. And suddenly, de repente, Suddenly Bond saw, so it goes to saw, past, okay? Past simple. Irregular verb to see, past simple, saw. Bond saw the killer in a telephone box. Okay, so we often use the past continuous tense and the simple past. Saw, simple past. Okay, we use the past continuous tense to express a long action, and we express the simple past tense to express a short action that happens in the middle of the long action. Okay, now this is quite complicated and I want you to study it. Okay, so we use those words like when and while. Okay, very important. Okay, I was watching TV when you telephoned. It's all in the past. Everything about this tense is in the past. I was watching TV at 8 o'clock. Recuerdo? I remember. Okay? And then you telephoned at 8 o'clock. Okay? I was watching TV when you telephoned. So you have here, I was watching, okay, past continuous, when you telephoned. Okay? Simple past. When you telephoned. hmm So we use when with a short action and while with a long action with the past continuous tense. Okay? I was walking past the car when it exploded. Okay? Oh, the car exploded while I was walking past it. Okay. So I think you've got the general idea. Let's go back to Mil Palabras and have a look at the exercises. Okay. So it says change the following sentences to the past continuous. Okay. We're going to give you the results of 3 examples. I connect the TV. Yo conecto la TV. Yo estaba conectando la TV. Okay? I was connecting the TV. The girl buys 10 gloves and 3 scarves. The girl was buying 10 gloves and 3 scarves. Very easy. Okay? Maria's father publishes. Maria's father was publishing. She puts the blankets around the baby. Okay? She was putting. Ella estaba poniendo. She was putting the blanket around the baby. That man gives me an estimate to fix my car. That man was giving me an estimate to fix my car. We make a list of our friends. We were making a list of our friends. Okay? Nosotros estábamos haciendo, we were making a list of our friends. Okay, so that's quite easy. Okay, let's have a look at the last 2. She waits for you on the sidewalk. She was waiting for you on the sidewalk when you appeared. Okay, she was waiting for you on the sidewalk when you appeared. Kathy invites them to the party. Kathy was inviting them to the party. Kathy was inviting them to the party when they telephoned, for example. Okay. To say something was not happening in the past, we simply add not between the verb to be and the verb with the ending ing. So it's the same as in lesson 7, but in the past. I was not talking. Okay? Here's a contraction. I wasn't. Were not. Weren't. Okay? I wasn't talking. You weren't talking. He wasn't talking. She wasn't talking. It wasn't talking. Must be a parrot. We weren't talking. You weren't talking. And they weren't talking. Okay? They weren't talking. Okay? She wasn't talking. Contraction. It's much better to use contraction when we're talking. And this is how we make the questions. Well, it's exactly the same as with the present continuous. Okay, we just change the verb to the front, as we always do, the auxiliary verb. Was I talking? Were you talking to me? Was he talking? Was she talking? Were we talking? Were they talking? Were they talking while I was eating my dinner? Okay. So remember, we use this to talk about things happening in the past, in the middle of other things that were happening in the past. Okay? So here we have the next exercise. You're going to change the following sentence to the past continuous. Uh, and later you're gonna change it to the past continuous negative, and finally to the past continuous interrogative. Okay, so Mrs. Rodriguez educates many boys. Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez educa a muchos chicos. Okay, and then we're gonna change that. Mrs. Rodriguez estaba educando, was educating many boys. Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez was not educating many boys. And was Mrs. Rodriguez educating many boys? Okay. One buys a fine diamond. Okay. One compra un diamante fino para su esposa. Okay. One buys a fine diamond for his wife. One was buying a fine diamond for his wife. ¿Y qué pasa? ¿Por qué no compró? Okay, one was buying a fine diamond for his wife when he lost his money. Okay? One was buying a fine diamond for his wife when he met his friend and they went to the cafe. Okay, one was not buying a fine diamond for his wife, and was one buying a fine diamond for his wife? Okay. Oh, Lupe injures her dog with a big piece of glass. Lupe hiere su perro con un pedazo grande de vidrio. Creo que es correcto. Okay. So Lupe estaba hiriendo, okay, was injuring her dog with a big piece of glass, etc., etc. I checked the oil in the engine. Compruebo el aceite en el motor. Okay. Bueno, yo estaba comprobando el aceite en el motor. I was checking the oil in the engine. Okay. I wasn't checking the oil in the engine. Okay, was I checking the oil in the engine? Okay, so lots and lots of exercises. Very good for you to practice all these. Okay, let's have a look. We find a big difference between the two sisters. How do we say that? Encontramos una diferencia grande entre las dos hermanas. Okay, we find a big difference. Okay, estábamos encontrando. Okay, we were finding a big difference between the two sisters. We weren't finding a big difference between the two sisters. Were you finding a big difference between the two sisters? Etc. El señor López trabaja para esa compañía. Okay, señor López estaba trabajando para esa compañía. Okay, Mr. Lopez was working for that company. Was Mr. Lopez working for that company? Or Mr. Lopez wasn't working for that company? Then we go to exercise 18.4. It's very it's the same as, yeah, we're going to change the following sentence to the past continuous. And then later the past continuous negative, and finally the past continuous interrogative. Okay, so the same as normal, but in Spanish. She represents her husband and son. She was representing her husband and son. She wasn't representing her husband and son. Was she representing her husband and son? Okay. The building blocks the view. El edificio obstruye la vista. Okay. The building was blocking the view. The building wasn't blocking the view. Was the building blocking the view, etc. Okay. So lots of that, and then we come on to another exercise. So it's a very long lesson. And we're going to translate the following sentences to English. Okay. So here are some examples. El dentista me estaba dando la tarifa. The dentist was giving me the price. Okay. Their family wasn't living in another state. Hmm? Uh, we were we were hoping to find her. We were hoping to find her in the hotel. We were hoping to find her in the hotel. Uh, we could say here, was the nurse was the nurse walking on the sidewalk? On the sidewalk, or we could also say pavement or sidewalk. In fact, sidewalk they use in America, and pavement we use in Europe. Okay, the population was growing in Mexico. Or el caso principal, the main case was being considered. Okay, okay. If I was oh, here's a question. Was it my nephew hiding near the hotel? Was it my nephew hiding near the hotel? It's quite difficult. That's quite difficult to translate. Efectivamente, indeed, I was talking with the judge. Indeed, I was talking with the judge. Okay, so you do all these, and then you have to follow it up with the exercises and the test. And I will see you for lesson 19. Okay? Thank you and goodbye. Oh, let me give you one more. Nosotros estábamos hablando acerca del próximo siglo. Okay? We were talking about the next century. Muy bien. Bye bye.